Turbo and 2K show.
What is up, 2K crew? Yes, it is that time of the week again, and I honestly can't wait. I've been chatting over here with the TikTok crew, and this is one of my favorite shows of the year, depending on how my team did on the trade deadline. So there have been some heartbreaks, there's been some holy shit moments. We're going to go over all of that, as well as break down some news, give you the winners and losers of the trade deadline. I can't wait, so get locked in. And yes, as you can see, we are rolling solo without Mr. 2Ks, but not to worry. Little Boozy is right here to help keep us company. So ladies and gentlemen, over on Twitter, over on YouTube, over on our Facebook page, and over here on TikTok. Cannot forget TikTok over here. Go ahead and let me know your thoughts on the winners, losers of the trade deadline. How did your team do? Well, first of all, who is your team? How did your team do? How do you think that they handled everything? And like I said, we'll get into some winners and losers, and I just can't wait. So let's just get started here. And yeah, I really cannot express how awesome it is to be here tonight. It is hotter than heck out here in why isn't this? There it goes. It is hotter than heck here in Michigan. So hold on one second. Sorry there, TikTok. Yeah, it is hotter than Hades here in Michigan. Went out golfing with my brother this morning. So thank you, Josh, for the invite. Had a great time. But you would think it being warm and hot would kind of help us, or at least kind of let us not make so many shots so that we're not on the course for all that long. But you know what? That's not the way it happened. We definitely got our money's worth today. So, but nonetheless, get out of the house, spend time with your brother. It was a great time. Shout out to you, Josh. Thank you for having me. But let's get into some news here, 2K crew. If you like the hat I'm wearing, you can order these over on our Etsy shop. So if you go to etsy.com, search for Turbo and 2Ks, you'll be able to find it. Or if you're over on YouTube, TikTok, or excuse me, YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, it is in the notes. But yeah, the $30, I believe $30 some shipped. So made to order, awesome hats. They are the OG Flex Fits. So if you're familiar with how they fit, you'll be familiar with how this fits. But let's start off with some Olympic news. We had Mr. Scotty, the one, the only. This is tweets from Bryson DeChambeau. What a final round from Scotty. You can never count the man out. Congratulations on the gold. Way to represent Team USA. And this one here, 2K crew, is kind of is a very emotional isn't the right word. A very just an awesome move by Bryson, because Bryson was snubbed for the Olympic team. The guy that had his spot did not play well. So it's good on Bryson to be like, hey, you know what, Scotty, you did awesome. You did awesome. Bring home the gold for the United States. If you were following any of those or any of the golf period, we saw the leaderboard littered with Americans, so that was awesome. But I have to, and yes, we had the photo finish for the men's 200. We've had huge success overall as it pertains to the Olympic team. But there is one gentleman in particular that I want to highlight here real quick, and this guy has stolen the show for me. This is a tweet from Warren Sharp. This is Insane Aura. 51-year-old Yusuf, and I'm not even going to try to pronounce his last name because I don't think that does him any good. Of Turkey shows up to the Olympics for shooting without special lenses, without ear protection, hand in his pocket and both eyes open, and casually takes home a silver medal. And the internet remains undefeated because this is the meme from Maury Brown, best Olympic meme ever, and cannot argue that. It's Mr. Yusuf alongside the guys from what is the name of that movie now? I'm drawing on Pulp Fiction. There we go, Pulp Fiction. So, but let's take a step back and kind of appreciate this gentleman for what he is. He is from Turkey, and which leads me to believe that if you've watched any spy movies or anything like that, it's likely that this man is actually an assassin. And I'm being completely and utterly facetious, but it just seems like that is, he just kind of matches up with that persona. And I did see another meme where Yushchev is in front of a TV with his pistol drawn and says that Gen Xers know how to do this because we played Duck Hunt on NES, which is very, very true. Which is very, very true. But if you don't know what I'm talking about, Google Olympic shooting and see just the weird random stances that some of these guys and gals have. You know, they have these monocles that blocks one eye, but has like a little, a little piece over here that kind of has like a red dot or something on it to help them aim. This old boy walks up with just his regular reading glasses or shooting glasses, and earplugs, and just does the thing. Just does the thing. And I was completely like, no way this is real. No way this is real. I didn't watch it live. I'm very sad that I didn't, because I would really like to see what the commentators were saying. You know, there's always the host, and then there's the professional, or the one that knows about the event. I would really like to see what their input was on this, because I thought it was completely awesome. And of course, we've seen Simone Biles do her thing, be the most decorated U.S. gymnast in history, and she had an interview today and said this is probably her last one, but since the next one's kind of a home game, we might be running this back. So kudos to her, kudos to everything that she's done. Katie Ledecky doing her thing. I mean, the medals are just coming in nonstop, so this is completely awesome for us, and cannot wait to see how the track and field, and old buddy that won the shot put, good Lord, he is a giant. He is a giant of a man. Looks like the old boy from down south that was the world's going to shit song. I mean, those two look like, well, half brothers, I guess you could say, because one is gigantic and the other one isn't. But facially, they look the same. At least I thought. So a very dominant performance thus far for the United States. So that's always awesome. Well, let's continue on the Scotty train here. Scotty Scheffler, 6 tour wins. This is from Jack Collinsworth. Scotty Scheffler just this year has 6 tour wins, has a green jacket, a gold medal. That's a hell of a year. The one thing he did not point out is Scotty also spent time in jail this year. I know, very, very, very brief, but it's been a roller coaster of a year for Scotty. I mean, the ups, the downs, not too many downs, but he let's not forget, he did spend time in jail. Was it right? Probably not, but yeah, it's you couldn't imagine a better, and had a child. So it's been a big year for Scotty. 2024 has been absolutely amazing. And the only downfall is that people are talking about how, compared to the PGA events that he wins, the lack of a purse that he's winning. And in my opinion, that has nothing to do with anything when it comes to the Olympics. You know, with the Olympics, you're competing as a team, you're competing as an individual, but you're competing for that medal, bragging rights, and for your country. So if there is an $800,000 purse at the end of this, kudos to Scotty, kudos to whoever put that up. But that's to me, and I have a feeling if you ask Scotty the same thing, he's not in it for the purse. He's not in it for the payday like he would be a PGA event. So I'm completely fine with it. I'm sure, I know he is, otherwise he wouldn't have done it. So all of us, sideline, Monday morning quarterbacks here, we just need to shut the fuck up, because it's none of our business. And like I said, he knew this going in. He knew this going in. And if he didn't want to do it, I guarantee there would have been 25, 30 other golfers that would have been like, let me do it. Let me do it. I don't care if there's a payday or not. Let me do it. I just want to be a gold medalist, world champion, and kind of go on about my business. So that's kind of my thoughts on that, but it is what it is. In some other news, we had a no-hitter. Actually, yeah, we did talk about the Dylan Cease no-hitter, but Blake Snell threw a no-hitter the other day. And if you remember back, I want to say, it wasn't last week, or maybe, it was 2 weeks ago. We talked about a tweet from Baseball History Nut over on Twitter, and if you guys are baseball fans, you need to follow this account. They post some really cool stuff, both comparing the players of yesteryear to the players of this generation, and just kind of brings it all kind of to a head. But the tweet in question was Nolan Ryan was 44 years old when he pitched his 7th career no-hitter. Blake Snell has never pitched into the 8th inning during his 9-year career. Guess who has 2 Cy Youngs and the one who has 0? And for those of you playing along at home, Nolan Ryan, shockingly enough, never won a Cy Young. Yes, he has all the strikeouts, he has the no-hitters, but as far as the ERA and stuff like that, just really didn't match up to where some of the other pitchers at the time were kind of boasting. So, yes, it is kind of a shock to believe that Nolan Ryan had never pitched a no-hitter, but that is the case. Excuse me. And Blake Snell has won 2 of them. And now Blake Snell can put a lot of that argument to rest because he has pitched his first career complete game. And when he does this complete game, it is his first career no-hitter. So how awesome is that? How awesome is that? And he also was a big kind of possible piece at the trade deadline that people were thinking about, where is he going to go? The Giants aren't going anywhere. The Giants, got rid of some pieces. Why would they hang on to him with his extremely big salary coming up? So, and his very crappy start to get his Giants career underway. And let's take even a further step back. This was his first win as a Giant. We're in August, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, he had he didn't have training camp, didn't have, all of these things that most of the other players did, but it's kind of shocking to think that a player the caliber of Blake Snell hasn't gotten a win up to this point. And his first win as a Giant, those is not only his first career complete game, first time in his career going into the 9th inning. Not only does the complete game, not only pitches a shutout, but a no-hitter to boot. And I believe that's the 3rd no-hitter of the year. I have a feeling I have a feeling we're going to see some more. Let's put it that way. But yeah, that's a big shout out to him. Let's see here. I picked this one just because it was funny, but yet might actually happen. So let's take a look at it. This is from ML Football. Wild. ESPN's Nicole Briscoe predicts Taylor Swift will attend more games than Aaron Rodgers will play in 2024. Let's take a step back and kind of unwrap that, okay? Leading up to last year, Aaron Rodgers was a relatively healthy quarterback. Or, let's put it this way, didn't miss a ton of games in his career. Is he 39 years old? Yep, fully understand that. Is he going into like his 22nd, 23rd year, whatever it is? Yeah, he's been in the league a long time. He is not a young, up-and-coming player. He is an established player. I think it's wild that someone at ESPN, now this could just be for clicks, this could be, it is what it is. But if she really feels this way, Taylor Swift will attend more games than Aaron Rodgers will play in 2024. Now, I think as football fans, we can all take a look at that and go, I hope not. I hope not. There's a lot of people that are on the bandwagon that Aaron Rodgers is going to not only have a very good season, that Jets team is very good around him, and they address the elephant in the room with the offensive line. So why wouldn't it be? Why would you get that feeling? Are we saying the same thing about Kirk Cousins, who also had a very similar injury? However, went about his recovery different. But should the method of recovery indicate how someone's going to perform in the future? I don't think so. I don't think so at all. As long as the player is healthy, then one would think if the Achilles is bended, if the Achilles is good, if you can do all the things you could before, who cares about the method of treatment? Now, one other thing here is, excuse me, I have a very good feeling that the persona around Mr. Rogers is kind of drawing, I'm going to go out and say it, hatred. I mean, it sounds like Miss Briscoe genuinely does not like Aaron Rodgers. That's the gist of it that I get. I might be completely wrong. I'm just going off how I feel, and I honestly feel that this is just a shot because she doesn't like him. She doesn't like what he does. She doesn't like what he stands for, his views, regardless of whatever. Or maybe she could be a Packers fan and just pissed that he's gone. Or she's a Bears fan and was very, very tired of Aaron Rodgers beating up on the Bears. There's a lot of different ins and outs, a lot of different ups and downs, however you want to paint it. But to come out and say that Taylor Swift's going to attend more games than Aaron Rodgers is going to play in, I think at the end of the day, it was just a pure and simple click magnet. And it worked because I did it. And hopefully, I'm not a Jets fan. I'm not an Aaron Rodgers fan. I'm a football fan. And I think football is better when Aaron Rodgers is in it. That being said, I'm also a Bears fan, and Aaron Rodgers has beat the shit out of the Bears his whole entire career. So if anyone has any hatred or any ill feeling or ill will towards him, it would be me and the Bears faithful. But and it might be for the faithful, but it's not for me. It's not for me. I enjoy watching him play. Let's get into some. Since we're on the football thing here, let's go to Dan Orlovsky over on Twitter. Excuse me. Scoring. This is in regards to Jared Goff. Scoring offense: 2017 Rams first, 2018 Rams second, 2022 Lions fifth, 2023 Lions fifth. Jared Goff has quarterbacked 4 top 5 offenses in the last 7 years. He's 2 fourth quarter drops away from taking 2 different teams to Super Bowls in the span. It says speak, but I think Dano meant to say span of 6 years. And this to me is wild because if you look at the teams that he played for, Rams and Lions, you got the McVay offense for the Rams and now Ben Johnson with the Lions, 2 offensive geniuses. And just how proficient and prolific Jared Goff has been in each one of those is rather astounding, considering most people don't even consider him a top 5 quarterback. And if you were with us last week, we did our 2Ks and I did our top 10 quarterback receiver duos, and both of us had Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown within our top 5. I believe both of us had it within our top 4 or 5, somewhere in there. So we see how good Jared Goff is. If you go into Detroit, you could be at a concert at Pine Knob, and the Jared Goff chants are just going wild. You go to a Pistons game, same thing. You go to you go to a Tigers game, I guarantee someone's going to start the Jared Goff chant, and rightfully so, because what he's done has been amazing. He was kind of that, we'll just bridge quarterback. We're getting rid of Matt Stafford. Matt goes off, wins his Super Bowl, but Jared Goff can't be our quarterback of the future. Are you kidding me? You're going to sit here and tell me that we're going to trade away Matthew Stafford and we're going to get Jared Goff and draft picks in return, and this is going to be the guy that's supposed to help and lead our team? No, he's just a bridge quarterback. Trust me. We're going to be just good enough to where we'll be able to draft one of these hot quarterbacks this year. But that wasn't the case. The Lions were fantastic. The Lions won the division. The Lions made the NFC Championship game because of the aforementioned Ben Johnson, because of the aforementioned Jared Goff, and the total climate, the whole situation that Dan Campbell has put in place. That's the key to success right there, is with those gentlemen all in agreement, all on the same page, because it's going to filter down from those guys to the rest of the team. And it's happened, and it has absolutely happened. And to think that a lot of folks, and we did last week the graphic where the top 5 highest paid quarterbacks, and Jared Goff is one. He is one. And if you look at the other players on those lists, your Jordan Loves, your Tuas, your Justin Herberts, a lot of those guys haven't even made the playoffs. And we're talking about a guy who, let's put that graphic back up here real quick. Has had top 5 scoring offenses, four top 5 offenses in the last 7 years, and it's been the same guy. Obviously, two very different situations, but still, this is what you're getting with Jared Goff. Now, is he going to be a 5,000 yard passer? No, probably not. Is he going to be your Patrick Mahomes style, where he's just going to kind of do things on the fly? Probably not. But what he is going to give you is consistency. He's going to be on the field, so he's available. He very rarely gets hurt. And the core that they've put around him is more important than him, because that's what's going to keep him upright. That's what's going to keep him going. His receiving core is awesome. He's got an awesome tight end. Very good running game, very good offensive line. And they've shored up that defense, which was leaking like a sieve in the secondary. And Aiden Hutchinson is another one of those guys that just buys in and gets what Dan Campbell's trying to do. So this is a team I'm very excited to see. And I have a feeling with everything that's surrounding Jared Goff, I think that not only will this add, 2024 will add to that list, but I have a feeling this year's offense is going to be better than last year's. So that 5th ranked offense could be even, not could, I think it will be even better and move up that list. So just something to keep an eye on. But the Cubs are clawing back. They're up 3-2 over St. Louis here in Chicago. All right. Well, I think that let's get into a little bit of baseball news before we jump into the trade deadline. But if you haven't heard, Mike Trout has been shut down yet again for the season. This tweet's from Hembo over at ESPN. It says Mike Trout is becoming a baseball tragedy. 2017, torn ligament in left thumb. 2018, right wrist inflammation. 2019, surgery on right foot. 2021, strained right calf. 2022, left rib cage inflammation. 2023, fractured herniated bone in left hand. That's not herniated, hemate bone, whatever the hell that is. And 2024, torn left meniscuses, because I believe he was coming back and then retore it. So again, absolutely terrible. I mean, we've talked about it on this show. If Trout shut it down today, would he be a Hall of Famer? And it's weird to say, but the way I think about Hall of Fame is, were you dominant for a decade? And in Trout's case, we have to say yes. Now, what we forget about is that was a long time ago. We're seeing the aging, almost falling apart version of Mike Trout, which is sad. And guys and gals, I lived through it. I was a huge Ken Griffey Jr. fan. And the similarities between the two are extremely striking, except for the fact that Trout's offensive numbers were way better than Griffey's. So we were almost seeing a player that at the end of his career, we were supposed to be able to compare to Mickey Mantle, to compare to Willie Mays, to compare to all of these great players. And injuries have just robbed us of that. And it's very sad. Even more sad than the fact that the team he's played for his whole entire career absolutely sucks. We got something here from the Back It Up Binge podcast. Trout can't find a way to stay on the field. It's sad for him and the game. 100%. Baseball is better when Mike Trout is playing. And baseball would be even better with Mike Trout in the playoffs, which I know we're kind of far away from that now. We're kind of far, we've got to pump the brakes a little bit, because I just want to see him play. And he was off to a great start this year. RBI numbers weren't there because no one was on base in front of him, but he was off to a great start, which to me is even worse. And if God forbid you're an Angels fan, you guys and gals have to be just tearing your heart out. And there's a lot of people that are just ripping him to shreds. And it's like, for one, this dude is a human being. Okay. He's not doing this shit on purpose. He would rather be out there playing rather than rehabbing. I guarantee it. So I, for one, can't, it's one of those things. I can't wait to see him back, but I want to see him back healthy, for one. And if it takes longer for him to come back healthy, then so be it. The Back It Up Binge podcast says Trout, no doubt Hall of Famer. I agree with you, but there are so many other people that don't, and I completely have no idea their rationale. And I honestly think what it comes down to is they're looking right now instead of the whole 10 years, 12 years prior to this. And if you take just the right now, you've got kind of like a Giancarlo Stanton type situation where the guy can't stay on the field. But when he could, he dominated a whole decade plus of baseball. So, and like I said, my opinion is to make it into the Hall, you have to be dominant for a decade. And especially with all the other accolades, the MVPs, the everything else that Trout has, yes, he should be a first ballot Hall of Famer, and I will stand on that soapbox as long as it takes. And like Back It Up says, they'll be right there with me. Which thank you for that. And hopefully it'll be a few more years before we have to have that real conversation. Well, let's switch to a whole different aspect here. This tweet's from Barstool Sports. Garrett Cole can't pitch because he's tired. Meanwhile, an Egyptian fencer competes at the Olympics while 7 months pregnant. And I believe she actually won a medal, right? I'm almost positive. That she won a medal, which is even crazier to think about. And if and I have a feeling we'll see a couple of his tweets here coming up. The J. Hay Kid, the Nugget chef himself for Baseball's Dead podcast, he's been ripping Garrett Cole to shreds, and rightfully so. I can't pitch because I'm tired. Excuse me, because you're tired? Brother, you are the highest paid pitcher in the game right now. And you're tired. Okay. That doesn't compute to me. You're a professional baseball player. I can understand if, bereavement, God forbid, or the paternity list, or you were hurt, injured. And I think for the Yankees to let this information out is kind of sad, that your stud pitcher that's been getting banged up on the mound is all of a sudden tired. And you're supposed to be one of the leaders of this team. Come on now. Come on. And yes, full disclosure, I am a Red Sox fan, but that has nothing to do with the guy saying he's tired. And for me not to, and he had the first month and a half or so off. He didn't play for the first month and a half. What were you doing? You didn't have time to rest then, and now all of a sudden, tired? No, I don't buy it. Well, let's talk about his. We mentioned some of the leaders on that Yankee team, and let me see if I can drag this down to give the credit where it's due. This is from Baseball History Nut, like we mentioned before. Aaron Judge was basically Bo Jackson in high school. And I pulled this off just because it's insane. Aaron Judge's senior high school stats: football, 57 receptions, 969 yards, 17 touchdowns. I believe that's a single season school touchdown record. Basketball, averaged 18.2 points a game and 12.9 rebounds. He was an all-state center. In baseball, he just hit 500, 7 home runs, and 32 RBIs. That is absolutely insane. And if remember back to when you were in high school, okay? hand up. I played high school baseball. Was okay. And but to how intimidating, just this sheer size when you're in high school. Granted, he probably wasn't as tall as he is now. I get that. But he had to be darn close. Just the intimidation factor of stepping in the box when you're that big at that age. Hell, even today. The only difference is the players that he's playing against now are a little bit taller, a little bit more built than high school kids. I get that. But man, damn. And how do you cover him in football when he's that big? Just goes to show you how really athletic he is, and he even, again, hand up, Red Sox fan. Love watching him play. Back it up says Cole threw 91 pitches today. McCann took a 95-mile-an-hour fastball in the ooh, yeah, exactly. Fatigue, come on. Yep, and he says he was talking about James McCann took a 95-mile-an-hour fastball in the face and stayed in the game. And if you saw him after in the post game, eyes are almost swelled shut. He's got the toilet paper stuffed up his nose because it was bleeding. Yeah, dude, I'm right there with you. Right there with you. Especially, this Yankee team isn't a very heated AL East, as well as a very heated American League wild card. So each one of these starts that Cole, it is tired. How much is that actually costing the Yankees? I mean, let's be honest. All right, I think that's all the news that I have. So let's jump over let's talk about some trades. Now let's take a step back, because 2Ks and I have been talking about this trade deadline kind of looming for well over a month prior to the deadline. And we were throwing out names like Garrett Crochet, Tariq Skubal, Luis Robert, Vladdy Jr., all of these bigger names. And I think we kind of both agreed that a lot of the big names would not be moved. But we've seen it before. We've seen very big names change teams prior to or at the trade deadline that had changed the baseball landscape for that season. Now, this year, not really so much. It was one of those trade deadlines where it was more of a let's fill holes than make blockbusters, which, I mean, which is fine. And we found out later on is that, I mean, granted, this was always going to be a seller's market. Because of the fact there were so many teams still in the hunt with the wild card and with a couple of these divisions. So yes, name your price for player X. I mean, and then take that and multiply it by 3. We talked about, how the Orioles would be primed to go get a Skubal or a Crochet or any of the big names because they have the farm system to back it up, as well as the Atlanta Braves. But when it came down to it, there weren't any big moves. Probably the biggest one was Jack Flaherty from the Tigers over to the Dodgers. And we also had, which the Jazz Chisholm to the Yankees, that's worked out really well so far. Let's see what Back It Up has to say here. And by the way, Back It Up, thank you for commenting. Makes the show a little bit more interesting. He says, Skubal, Snell, Crochet not moving made it a boring deadline. Orioles filled holes, but not enough. O's can't win with Kimbrel as closer. And we've been a very, very pro Orioles podcast there. Back It Up. I'm not sure if this is your first time, and if it is, welcome. But if not, I think all 3 of us here sat and we picked Gunnar Henderson to win the AL MVP. I think all of us picked the Orioles to win the division. I think all of us, I think at least two out of 3 chose the Orioles to be in the World Series, and I think one of us picked them to win. So we are right there with you. But yeah, it was more of a let's, we're taking on water with the boat and we're just plugging it with gum. There were more starters and relievers that were traded with +5 ERAs than I think I've ever seen in my life. And yes, we saw some role players. We saw the very, very famous super utility player being, that term being thrown around just constantly during this trade deadline. So let's kind of let's see here. It says first time tuning in, nice show, subbed and liked, nice job. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you. We appreciate it. When the show is over, I will return the favor. I promise. Let's talk about some, let's see kind of who went where and kind of gauge some interest from there. First and foremost, we got to talk about the Dodgers. They got Tommy Edman, Amon Rosario, and Michael Kopech, and as well as Jack Flaherty. And this here 2K crew, between me and you, I think this is why 2Ks isn't on the show. Yes, I know he's on call, but I don't think he wanted to talk about the haul that Jack Flaherty got back. Which I don't have exactly who they got back, but I'm pretty sure none of us have heard of them. And yes, now let's take a step back here. Let's take a step back with Flaherty in particular. He has had an amazing season. He's had a kind of a career, reinvented his career. So kudos to him. He was a very hot prospect and got off to a hot start in the Cardinals organization. Things kind of fizzled out there, and he's kind of bounced around. But this is from BR Walkoff on Twitter. The Yankees backed out of a trade for Jack Flaherty due to medical concerns. And the medical concerns that they're referencing it's back issues, which I myself am going through right now. Terrible. Would not wish that pain on anybody. So if you're a professional athlete, I can only imagine going through the things that I'm going through while trying to do my job, which would be almost impossible. So yes, I can see why. Now, the Yankees had a way bigger package on the table for Flaherty than the Dodgers ended up sending over, just because it was one of the last trades that actually happened. So what leads me to believe is, yes, there was a bigger haul out there to be had with the Yankees. They turned it down. Word got out that, yes, back issues. We did the medicals. We don't like it. We're out of here. And the GM over in Detroit just like, yep, we just got to get something, because we signed him as a rental. So we have to get something. So what did they get? A bucket of balls and some Gatorade, pretty much. So I'm sure next week when we meet again, we'll get 2K's kind of view on that, and I get ready for fired up 2Ks, which is my favorite. That's my favorite kind of 2Ks. Is the fired up 2Ks. So yeah, the Dodgers were active as they always are. It would be an absolute shock if they just stood pat with all of the injuries that they've had on the rotation, just period. And now, Freddie Freeman going through the stuff with his son, T's and P's, God be with you guys and gals, which is absolutely terrible. Hopefully they can get that ironed out so Freddie can get back and join the team. Mookie's been hurt. Insert player that's started pitching for them, they've been hurt. So yeah, it hasn't been the dominant season that the Dodgers have, that all Dodgers fans hoped for when the season started. But adding these little bits and pieces helps, yes. But are they the dominant runaway favorite in the National League? Maybe with the sports books, yes, but I'm not a sports book, and I'm still hanging my hat with the Phillies, even though they haven't gotten off to even close to a good start after the All-Star break. But the Phils are the Phils, and I honestly still think that they will come out on top there. Seattle Mariners had a big trade deadline, getting one of the major pieces at Moon and Randy Arozarena. Now we haven't seen, this isn't kind of the prototypical, amazing Randy season that we've been used to. He struggled coming out the gate. Yes, it picked up right towards the deadline, which was awesome for him. But he goes to the Mariners, which was the most anemic offense in baseball, besides the White Sox. So let's say the most anemic offense that's trying to win games, which we'll get to the White Sox here in a little bit. But an offense that needed pop, and Randy's one of those guys. They also had a Justin Turner, who has not had his greatest season thus far, but I think he adds the veteran leadership that team needs. Can still play an amazing third base, first base, whatever you need. Just the hitting isn't there as it was prior. You look at last year with Boston, the numbers might not have been fantastic, but as far as clutch numbers are concerned, as far as just numbers, period, he's going to get it done for you. Love that trade. I was actually hoping the Red Sox would bring him back. Hit a grand slam already. The Astros, let's see what Back It Up has to say here. If the Mariners can figure out how to score 2 to 3 runs per game consistently with that staff, they were a pick of mine to go deep. Absolutely. I mean, if you look at historically with the Mariners, it's been the offense that's always been behind the pitching, even going back to King Felix. So they need to figure something out. And we've seen since these, just these two guys, Randy and Turner have made their impact on the lineup. They've been scoring 5 to 6 runs a game, which is almost unheard of prior to that. And it's going to be really cool to see once J-Rod gets back in that lineup. Hopefully, he can get back to some sort of form like he was last year and the year before, to kind of get where this team, I think a lot of us thought that they could go. And the main thing that's going to be on the Mariners' backs is obviously the Astros, which is who we're going to talk about now. They get Kikuchi from the Blue Jays. Now, this was the trade here to 2K Crew that a lot of Tigers fans got extremely excited about. If you look at the haul that the Astros sent over to get Kikuchi, was astronomical. And if you're the Blue Jays, you're like, you want to give us that? Yeah, go here. Do you want anything else? I mean, because that's huge. That's absolutely huge. So, I mean, for this to go down and to get the kind of player that Kikuchi is, and I'm not saying he's horrible, but his numbers and everything just don't add up to what you had to pay. So was it an overreach? Yes, I do. But again, like the Dodgers, every other starting pitcher on that Astro staff has exploded, and just, their arms are basically falling off, their legs are falling off. They are just been decimated with injuries. So to add something, they had to keep pace with the Mariners, especially with the offensive additions that they've made. I just don't think this was enough. I don't think it was the right move. I really, really don't like it at all. We already touched base with Jazz Chisholm and the Yankees. I mean, he's it's one of those, round hole, round peg things, and that there was a lot of trepidation leading up to this. Everyone's like, well, he's flashy. He has an attitude. How will he fit in that locker room? Pretty sure everything's copacetic, because now if he comes in with that flash and that, attitude and doesn't perform, it's harder to kind of pitch the, hey, I can do this because I'm me type thing. Whereas the way he's kind of went about his business, being a menace on the base paths, hitting bombs, hitting doubles, not only playing center field, but playing third base, because your second baseman is like, no, Gleyber Torres is like, I play second. This is my spot. If he wants to play the infield, you got to send him over there. And where did that get Glaber? Got his ass on the bench last night, or at least the night before. I mean, come on now. Come on. This kid's just going to waltz in and yes, it is more of a flashy type of player that the Yankees, I think, in the past would be like, nah. But it was a team that had a need, and with Jazz, you're going to get a couple years of control, at least one, I would have to think. So, I as a Red Sox fan, I hate the move, but as a baseball fan, it makes the Yankees better. The only thing that doesn't do is add to their rotation, which I think a lot of folks were kind of be like, hey, which they tried to do with the Jack Flaherty thing, and they're like, no, we don't want to take the chance with the back. So it's not, Yankee fans, you can't be mad at the front office. They kick tires on a lot of things. It's just that, again, I think the Astros kind of screwed everybody when it came to even acquiring any kind of top level starting pitcher or reliever, because we saw, again, seller's market. We saw just the prices of these players go through the absolute roof. Let's see, the Brewers added a little bit. The Twins added a little bit. Cleveland added a little bit. I do like the Lane Thomas to Cleveland. I do like that. Let's see here. Back it up says Yankees getting Schmidt back in the next 1 to 2 weeks. That's true. That's true. But still, and with that team, even from Jump Street, day one, this team, the way it was assembled, was not going to win pitchers duels. They were not going to win games 2-1, 1-0. It was going to be, our offense is going to average 6.5 runs a game. Just our pitching staff can't give up 7. That was basically the way this team was put together. And if that's what you want to do, by all means, you do it. Me, on the other hand, I would much rather have a little bit more balance between the offense. I mean, it's honestly the complete opposite of what we talked about with the Mariners. And if you could find something right there in the middle, I think that's where the hot spot is. That's where the hot spot is. Let's see here. Well, that's kind of all the big. My Red Sox added a couple pieces. I love it. They were looking for a starting pitcher. They got James Paxton back. It is what it is. We've got a lot of young kids that need, they've already pitched more innings this year than they have any year prior. So we just needed a guy to give us innings. And James Paxton is one of those guys. And you're talking about offense. The offense has been clicking for the most part for the Red Sox. They did add a couple bats, got some bullpen help, exactly what we needed. So I'm very stoked about that. So yeah, now that we highlighted it all, let's, who were the winners and losers? And we talked about the sellers hauls. I mean, some of the hauls for these guys were astronomical. Why on earth is, like I said, there weren't any like top tier household names that were moved. However, some of the packages that we saw were kind of reminiscent of those top tier household names that we've seen in the past. Did it make sense? Yeah. It's kind of like the housing market right now. If you put your house up for sale, it's gone within a month. Whereas in the past, you go pre-pandemic style, you're looking at, it could be on the market for 6 or 8 months, but not anymore. Supply and demand. The supply was not that high, but the demand was astronomical for these big league players. So that's kind of where we saw that. So let's talk about some winners and losers. I guess right out the gate, I'm gonna pin the first loser comment on the Tigers, just because we all knew Flaherty was gonna go. Now I'm really curious to see who or what offers were proposed for Skubal. Who were those teams and what were the packages? Not to say that I would want to see Skubal moved, but as we've talked about prior on the show, if mortgaging that guy to replenish the farm system with bats, if the package is right, and it would have to blow your socks off, go ahead and do it. Which honestly, it doesn't sound like there was one. But I'd be curious to see who kicked the tires, what kind of offers were kind of even thought about, kicked around. I would really like to be a fly on the wall there, just to see what actually went down. But yeah, I'm gonna throw the Tigers on there. Was it all their fault? No, not with the information that we have with the medical on Flaherty. But at least yes, that was stupid. But there were dumber things that front office could have done that we've seen prior front offices do. So it is what it is. It is what it is. Not the worst loser. Not the worst loser. But but definitely the first one we're going to talk about. Talked about the Astros already. I'm going to throw them in this losers bracket just because they way overpaid for Kikuchi. They way overpaid. So yes, in my eyes, huge loser of this deadline. Let's see here. The article I'm looking at is from Fox Sports. They're doing everything a little bit different here. I got to chalk up the San Francisco Giants. Not only, they really didn't. Yes, they hung on to Blake Snell, which obviously, we've touched on many times. I guarantee they were looking for a huge haul for that. But to get rid of Soler and just some of the other, and Alex Cobb, some of the other pieces that they were willing to let go, especially having the offseason they did. Now, again, this is the same San Francisco Giants team that we've talked about in previous shows, where they had the money locked and loaded, supposedly, for Ohtani. They had the money locked and loaded for Aaron Judge. They had the money locked and loaded for a lot of free agents the past 2 years. It's just no one wants to go play for the Giants. Except for Blake Snell. Except for a couple of these other guys. But it's weird. It's weird to see that, that happen. And then for them to be like, no, we're done. We're done. White flag. Here we go. Let's see here. They have the Colorado Rockies listed because they didn't do shit. And with that team, I'm not sure who you would really want off there. I'm not saying that I follow the Rockies roster to know their left-handed specialist out of the bullpen or any of their bullpen pieces, but with a record like that, it kind of leads me to believe that there aren't a whole lot of slim pickings. Let's put it that way. Slim pickings. And to give credit, this is from Rowan Kavner, MLB writer for Fox Sports. Just to don't want to nitpick and take apart anyone's stuff, but and you kind of have to throw the Rays in there. I mean, yes, they offloaded a bunch of stuff, but this is kind of what the Rays do. There was never a chance they were going to sign a Rosarena. There was never a chance they're going to sign any of the guys that they traded away. So why not strike while the iron's hot, especially in this market? Let's get them off the books. Get a whole bunch of new guys we can filter through. I mean, it seems like Evan Longoria is the only player they've ever paid. We've touched on in previous shows some of the pitchers that they've let go. To me, that's just asinine. But that's the way they do business down in Tampa. So this wouldn't be the first nor the last time that Tampa would be on the losers list. And let's talk about the ultimate loser of the trade deadline. If you're any kind of baseball fan, you know exactly where I'm going. Hold on one second. And I have a feeling this is one of the reasons why Mr. Hudson is not joining us, because the White Sox. The White Sox are the absolute worst. I mean, record-wise, they just lost their 20th game in a row. And this is a second losing streak of over 11 games, I believe. And if you take a look when this losing streak started, it started on a doubleheader. They won the first game, lost the second, and haven't won since. So to kind of put that in your brain, being like, okay, we actually won on the same day that we started this losing streak. How often can you say that? Just seems kind of weird to me, but And yes, I guess if you want to call it adding insult to injury, but we're going to do it. We have to do it. So let's just rip it off like a Band-Aid. This is from a Twitter handle Spaghetti at Spaghetti C11. Excuse me. My heart goes out to all the players affected by being traded to the White Sox today. I feel that one. I feel that. I really do. And here's another one. This is from Redbird Riot. It's a photo of Tommy Pham getting traded from the White Sox to the Cardinals, which we were watching here tonight, who was also mic'd up for the game and is an avid fantasy football player, which I did not know. And the tweet says, "What leaving the Chicago White Sox does to a man," and he is just grinning ear to ear. And I'm sure leaving the White Sox and not having that be on your back anymore, yeah, get me the hell out of here. I don't care where you send me. Don't care. And lastly here, this is from Josh Nelson Sox Machine. And I'm pretty sure his Twitter handle is at Sox Machine. Poses a very good question. Do you think the Savannah Bananas could beat the Chicago White Sox? Now, I think this is more of in jest, but still, it kind of makes you think, like, how good really is this team? You take some of the top farm systems in baseball. Take my Red Sox; they're a top 5. Back it up to take your Orioles, take their AAA squad, or even like an all-star, from AAA, AA. Do you think they could at least hang with the White Sox, if not beat them? I think that's more of a relevant question than if the Savannah Bananas could beat them. But it kind of makes you think, like, because we've made the comparisons, like not only us as a show, but as media in general. Could take the worst NFL team? How would they line up against the number 1 college team? We saw it a few years ago with hold on one second. We saw it a few years ago with that dominant Georgia team. Would they have a shot against an NFL team? I honestly think no. Just because size, bigger, faster, NFL. But it does make you think a little bit when if you're to take an all-star team of any of the top 5 farm systems in baseball against the Chicago White Sox, how do you think the White Sox would fare? I don't know. I mean, we can speculate all you want, but it's a conversation that I think we need to have, and not to be poking fun at the White Sox or their fandom by any means. It's just an honest question that I'm not. And yes, hand up. If I was a better show host, I would have my Red Sox roster compared to the White Sox roster, but I don't. Maybe that will be we'll deep dive into that on an upcoming episode, but it does raise the question. It does raise the question. But that's kind of all I have for that. I really hate to end the show on such a doldrum, on such a bad note. But when it comes down to it, the White Sox are a bad team. The White Sox are a bad team. And I do have the standings up here. Let's see here. Standings. The White Sox are 27-87. 2.37 winning percentage. And I believe I did hear that they're on pace for 120 losses, which means they're going to win 42 games. 42 and 120. And in comparison, because last year we had the Oakland A's be the ass of Major League Baseball, we've seen them bounce back. And they actually held on to players such as Mason Miller, which I honestly thought they would. As good as he is, as good as he's going to be and as much controllability he has, could you imagine the package you would have to put together for him to get him out of Oakland? Same with Brett Rooker. Those are two guys that I have a feeling we're on every single GM's want list. I don't care how good your bullpen is. Mason Miller is probably better than at least one guy in your bullpen. But it would take a massive haul to get him. And they stood pat because they're hopefully turning over a new leaf and start spending again. That's kind of the word out of Oakland. But they're sitting at 46-67 with a 407 winning percentage. They're 14 games ahead of the White Sox. Nope, that's horrible math. Horrible math. Let's see, 37, 19. Maybe that math's wrong too. Well, let's take a look at the Marlins. The Marlins have 42 wins. The Rockies have 41. The White Sox haven't even got 30 yet. Let's see if I can grab their schedule. Okay. Just to kind of give you a heads up, they play 3. Houston comes. Nope, they're at Houston for 3. Then at San Francisco for 3. Detroit at home for 4. Then they have Texas, the Mets, the Orioles, Red Sox, Indians, or not Indians, excuse me. Crap, it's gone. It's gone. Thank you, Pop-Up. But the Guardians. So it doesn't get any easier. And as an organization, when you're trying to move a Garrett Crochet type of prospect or player, he's not really a prospect anymore because he's playing. But for him to come out and say, yo, if you trade me, the team that you're trading me to has to agree to an extension before I even pitch. And if they don't, I'm not pitching in the postseason. I'm just not pitching in the postseason. Could you imagine if the Dodgers had made that trade, brought Garrett Crochet from Chicago over to LA, and he's in that pitching room, Clayton Kershaw's there. You trying to tell me that this kid's going to look Clayton Kershaw right in the face and be like, yo, nope, not pitching in the playoffs. I'm just not. I'm just not. And if you guys get a ring, make sure mine's there too. Why would the Dodgers even mess with that? Why would they? Especially when the haul to get him would be so big. And then for him to be like, nah, sorry about it. Especially considering he's under club control for a handful of years yet. So when you're a GM at the trade deadline, when you get younger players like this, you're looking for controllability, which is exactly what Garrett Crochet has. He has a lot of club control. And he's like, nope, I'm taking that control back. Extension, or I'm not pitching in the playoffs. So he basically held his team hostage because there wasn't going to be a GM dumb enough to be like, yep, here's a giant haul. Then we'll talk about a contract. And on top of that, if we don't do the contract, you're just not going to pitch in the postseason. Nah, we'll pass. And now that that's out, and if the White Sox, which they probably are, going to look to move him in the offseason, that's still there. That's still there. So who's going to do? I mean, yes, the Dodgers most likely, if they did trade, would extend him. But it's kind of a what? And yes, I completely understand. Make your money while you can. I get it. I'm not going to tell you how to make your money. I'm not going to tell you how to spend your money. But when it comes down to just, the money's going to come. Talk about it in the offseason, not prior to the trade deadline when you hold your team ransom. Be like, nah, I need extended. I need extended, or I'm not pitching in the playoffs. Hands down. So he's basically making his own Steven Strasburg rules for himself. You know, we've talked at great lengths about Paul Skeens, and this is probably the first show where we haven't had a Paul Skeens highlight or clip or tweet. You see, the Pirates we were picking at him. You know, we've been picking apart everything they've been doing with him, yet he still keeps doing it. He still keeps mowing people down. It's to lead him up to if they do make it to the playoffs, which if they do, that starting rotation is going to be a shit show to get through. Just a shit show to get through. And I'm actually very excited. And I'm hoping and praying and wanting them to make the playoffs just because I want to see that team in the playoffs. I really do. I really, really do. But that's neither here nor there. But they're handling it. You know, we're making fun of the organization for putting these Skeens rules or Strasburg rules, as we kind of went through with the Nats. And Garrett Crochet says, nah, this is the Crochet rules that I made, not the team. I made. And if you're on the White Sox, yeah, you're probably happy that your guy's there, but what does that do for the chemistry in the clubhouse, which probably is very non-existent at this point, having only won 26 games. Probably not a really good situation to be in. Probably not having a whole lot of fun. Everyone's trying to wonder if they're going to be there next year, what's going to happen, where's my next move. That's pretty much kind of what it is. And I'll wrap it up on this. I mentioned that they had Tommy Pham mic'd up for the Sunday Night Baseball, and they asked him, like I said, he's an avid fantasy football fan. So they said, if you were in a league, what would your suggestion for the last place team? What would be the punishment? And you could see the wheels churning in his head. And I'm like, I wonder if one of those things kind of churning around in his head is that loser has to go watch a White Sox game. To me, that would have been hilarious. That would have been absolutely hilarious. But totally not Tommy Pham's character. He will fight you, but I don't think he's going to shit talk an organization like that. At least not this soon after being traded. Off season maybe, but and maybe in private circles, but definitely not on ESPN. But yeah, that would have been glorious. I would have led the show with it. That would have been awesome. I would have been a huge fan of that because, like I said, it's one of those things. Like it has to be mulling around in his brain. Be like, yep, fantasy football punishment. You have to go watch a White Sox game at great whatever Kaminsky, U.S. Cellular, whatever it is. It goes to show you how much I know about White Sox baseball. But I'm going to get you guys and gals out of here on that. Everyone have a fantastic week. And yes, back it up. I will be heading on over to your page to give you a like and follow as well, and a big subscribe. So guys and gals for the 2K crew, head on over to this right here. Go give them a sub, give them a big thumbs up, and let them feel the Turbo and 2K's love, because we love talking baseball, and we love folks from other regions and other fandom rather than our own. So everyone get out, have an amazing week. Hopefully here in Michigan, the weather's supposed to be calming down after Tuesday, because holy shit, I am not built for this heat and humidity. So everyone get out, be safe, because it is so hot and humid. Check on your elderly family members and neighbors. And as always, Jim Rome, we're coming for you.